Hello, Earthlings. I'm Noelle with Follow the Planets. I read astrology and tarot. You can reach me on followtheplanets.com, also on Facebook as well. And I have a lot to talk about. This segment here is about a lot of things. Our society is going through a lot of changes, and this is a lot about the big picture. So let's get started. So we had some planets retrograde, and they started moving. Jupiter was the first to move, and I'm going to explain each one. So first, we have three planets: Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, all in the sign of Capricorn. So first, what Capricorn represents is Capricorn. The phrase that I like to use for Capricorn is proceed cautiously. Capricorn is really about structure. It represents the goat, so it's a climber climbing up the mountain. A lot of times, Capricorn people really don't need anybody else. They can do it all on their own. They can climb that ladder on their own. They uh, can have their own business and keep going to the top. That's generally how Capricorns operate. Capricorns can be, very serious, structured. They have a method. They have a plan. Capricorns are earth signs, and so earth signs are grounded. They're reliable. They're stable. They have a plan, and they move slowly. They're not a fast kind of sign like fire. Fire is fast, quick, and active, where earth signs are very grounded, like I said, stable and reliable. And um, and those are the good things about Capricorn. Some things that aren't so good are they can seem humorless, cold. Um, they can be very stern and strict, sticking with their plan that they have already put out, um, and stubborn, and don't want to really sway from that. They're going to stick to that. So that's what the energy is of Capricorn, while Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are in that sign. So first, we're going to start with Jupiter. So Jupiter is a very optimistic planet. It's a planet of luck, and it's about expansion and knowledge, abundance. It's worldwide. It's very optimistic. It's a visionary. It's very generous. Let's see what else. It's about popularity, that kind of thing. It's broad-minded. Some things that are negative are it can be lazy, and it can also have blind optimism. So Jupiter is there. It went direct on the 12th. And it is going to expand on this and really have show the positive qualities of a Capricorn. So it's going to expand on the structure and the method and growing to the top. Okay, then we have Saturn. Now Saturn rules Capricorn, and Saturn is the planet of karma. It is about timing. It's again also about structure, having a method. It's about responsibilities, discipline. It is about limitations. It rules over government and big corporations. So Saturn also represents checks and balances, as the government does, rules and regulations. It's about self-control, and it also represents the father, and it's really about maturity. And then we have Pluto. Pluto is the planet of transformation. Pluto is the planet of death, of rebirth. It really wants to stop and eliminate that which is not serving you or society anymore, and then open up a rebirth to what will serve yourself and society. Now, Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, so it's about the darkness, and with that darkness there's death related to that. So when you say death, of course it refers to natural death, but it can also refer to murder, bombings, terrorism, and also it can have to do with mob violence. It has to do with mass media. It also has to do with massive amounts of people and demonstrations. And Pluto is very intense. Pluto is very, represents an all or nothing, so it's a bit extreme. And Pluto really, with this transformation of death and rebirth, it's very intense in that it wants to completely eliminate that which is not serving, and then transform so that it can completely create. So we have several things going on. Jupiter moves direct. Jupiter moves direct on the 12th. Saturn moves direct on September 29th. And then Pluto moves direct on October 4th. And we're going to start seeing more motion and more things happen in government. And first, I will say this. Jupiter and Pluto are very close to each other. They've been going retrograde. All of these planets have kind of been moving forward and moving back, and they've all kind of been together, very close to each other. And we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion, coming along right next to Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth. Expansion in death and rebirth. And Capricorn also represents the elderly. So it's about authority and elderly. So we have an expansion with death, with the elderly. And they are, with Jupiter in motion, it's going to catch up to Pluto, which goes direct. And this is all going to happen mid-October, toward the end of October. They move very slowly, so they're coming together then, and then through the first week of November. So this will be their last conjunction here of them coming together, and we really could see an expansion in death with the elderly again. Okay, and this could be that second wave of the pandemic, creating that. Now, come mid-November, Jupiter is going to move past. Jupiter moves fast. Jupiter is in one sign for a year. Pluto is in one sign for anywhere from 16 to 24 years. So you can see it moves much faster than Pluto. So it's going to move beyond Pluto and into Aquarius. Saturn is in front of all of these, ahead of all of these signs, and on the 29th it's going to move forward as well. And Jupiter and Saturn are going to come together at really, it's going to be a very interesting time. I really want to the how this develops in our society, because all of these larger planets really represent the whole. The outer planets represent the whole of the world, the whole society. And mid-December, they're going to be moving into Aquarius, and we're going to really see a whole new way. So when after Jupiter and Pluto separate, Jupiter moves apart from Pluto, this is basically saying that there'll be less death, less of an expansion with deaths. So let us see how this develops, and how it seems too soon for a vaccine, but perhaps there'll be some sort of decrease in that energy, really, amongst the whole world of the society. So those are the dates to watch for the increases in death, especially with the elderly, and let's see how that progresses. Now, on to Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius. Now, Pluto is going to stay in Capricorn until 2026. So we are still going to have a transformation in that Capricorn energy and what Capricorn rules, which is government and big corporations, elderly, authority, structure, checks and balances. Those types of things are still going to be under a transformation with the government. Okay, now, since Saturn also rules the government, okay, we're going to see a big shift mid-December. And Jupiter is expanding that governmental shift that we're going to be having. And Jupiter will be in Aquarius for a year, and Saturn will be in Aquarius for 2.5 years. Now, Aquarius, how it's going to shift is that Aquarius is the sign of humanitarianism. It's the sign of the future, technology, science, social awareness. So I have hope for the future in these areas where government could really get on board with future technology of sustainability and expansion and optimism on that, on a worldwide, helping a worldwide level, because we're all really one. And that's how this Aquarian energy is going to transform. Now, with these planets leaving, these two planets leaving, and this death and rebirth in that area, and there are big, huge learning lessons. And that's what astrology is really all about. It's about learning lessons. We can always learn and grow and evolve, and we can always change. And we can always also change our perspective, because it is true. You change your perspective, you change your life. And astrology is all about perspective, all about perspective. So, the learning lessons here, I'm going to say the very strong learning lesson that we have going on is with Saturn in the sign it rules. And this is really about what that represents. Government, big business, structure, checks and balances, authority, regulations, limitations. It's about boundaries. It's about timing. It's about hard work. It's about longevity. It's about things that have been in place for a very long time. It's also about things being in place, and this is a timing thing as well, into the future for a very long time. And it's about maturity, self-control, and the Father. So I think what the learning lessons are on a societal basis, and of course, you know, you can look without, you can look with all around you, but you can also look within you. So what I'm going to say about these learning lessons is really learning about the role of government, learning about the role of regulations, learning about big corporations, and how these things have to do with really what is going on. I am going to say two things. So, since this is about maturity and very seriousness, this is about serious things, it's about the Father as well. How has the Father and authority affected our society? And the two big movements I'm going to say that are going on now, which are racism and sexism. It's this suppression of cultures, it's a suppression of a portion of our societies. So what is the role of authority, and what is the role of the Father, not only in your family, but an almighty Father, right? How has this authority kind of collapsed, I want to say. Pluto is collapsing that. And how has that figure collapsed? You know, authority also, I'm going to say, represents police. How does that structure, which is under government, how has that structure served us well? How has it not served us well? What needs to be adjusted? What no longer is working in a fairness, in an optimistic way? I'm also going to say, how has the Father represented sexism? If you look at statistics about molestation and sexual assault on women, what role is the Father playing? What role is the authoritative part of our society playing when it comes to sexual abuse, sexual assault, not only on on all ages, starting from molestation, younger children, into teenage world, and then colleges are very huge in how sexual abuse has occurred in colleges. It's very widespread. What are our learning lessons with the Father and with authority, and how that needs to adjust? What is no longer serving us, and how are we going to prepare ourselves? What are we going to learn from this in order to move into a humanitarian world? Fairness. So that's what I think all you Earthlings, men and women, everyone, all genders, all everything, all Earthlings, I'm going to call everyone an Earthling, needs to think about with this. And it's been there. And the movements have come out to express this. And change is needed. And this shift of Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius is going to be a big shift for us all to learn from and prepare for a whole new way, which needs to be embraced. Thank you, Earthlings. That's really all I have to say right now about all of these planets in Capricorn and these big learning lessons that we really need to contemplate on. Thank you. I am Noelle with followtheplanets.com, and you can reach me on Facebook as well, Follow the Planets. Thank you, Earthlings. Until next time.